Welcome everybody to the Dave Knows Wrestling's 2022 Awards, where the nominees and the winners are selected by you, the people, the members of the Know It All Nation. But before you can select a winner, you first have to know who the nominees are. And after 3 separate nomination live stream specials, I think I have narrowed things down to a good working list. And this list of nominees are the topic of this episode, because today... A quick shout out to all my awesome Patreons like True Sinister and Rodney Harris. Thank you so much for the support, and if you want your own Patreon shout out, please go over and sign up on my Patreon page. Okay, first off, I want to thank all of you for an amazing 2022. Furthermore, I also want to say that these award shows are actually pretty fun, so I can't wait to get into it. And with that being said, let's get into our first category. Okay, so first up, many of you were disappointed with quite a lot that happened this year. Like with the Royal Rumble, but truth be told, I think a lot of you said that just because you were disappointed in the winner. Not to say I blame you, because I'm never in favor of Brock Lesnar winning anything. Oh, but speaking of Brock, as a result of him winning this Royal Rumble, we had to see him versus Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania. And even though a lot of people won't admit it, there were quite a few of you fans out there who thought for some reason this might have been good. Boy, were you wrong. But that wasn't the only title unification match that didn't quite live up to the hype, as we also got CM Punk versus Jon Moxley to unify the interim and world titles from AEW, which ended up being just a 3-minute squash match. Now, as disappointing as those matches were, they're not the official nominees for this category. What are? Well, let's get into that now. Ah, yes. Remember all the people that were kvetching that Drew McIntyre didn't win a Clash of the Castle? Can you believe how many people thought that he was really going to win? Or how about Austin Theory finally cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase for a mid-card title? Only to not win it. Until he did, after the cash-in. Interesting. Furthermore, we're not done with Brock Lesnar or the Royal Rumble yet, because remember, he only won that Rumble after losing to Bobby Lashley, which was a dream match that a lot of people couldn't wait to see. Until, of course, they did. Anyway, there you go, the nominees for the most disappointing match of the year, and might I remind everyone, disappointing is not the same thing as worse. That's a different category, and we will get to that later. So remember, this is all about matches that you were hyped up for that fell short of expectations. Anyway, next category. Alright, and now we have the most pleasantly surprising match of the year. That bout that you didn't think was going to be any good, but somehow you found yourself thoroughly entertained. And there were quite a few surprises this year. Like with all the wrestlers returning to WWE, especially Cody Rhodes. And of course, who saw Vince McMahon retiring happening? However, none of these were matches. So why don't we start talking about the matches that were the most surprising in a good way for 2022? Okay, so first, allow me to say that I personally am not as enamored with Logan Paul as many of you might be. And it's nothing against him, I barely know who he is. And while I will admit and totally give him that his physicality and the way he executes the moves are fantastic, the problem I have is with his lack of storytelling and ring psychology, things that you have to develop over time after a long period of training. It seems like all a celebrity has to do is an outside dive and people start saying he's good. Now, in all seriousness, I'm not knocking him for his lack of experience. I'm just saying that I wasn't shocked that he could do what he could do. He's no Pat McAfee, let's just put it that way. However, there were some of you out there that were very impressed with what Logan Paul did. And hey, that's cool, you have a different opinion. But with that being said, which match surprised you the most? Was it his main event bout with Roman Reigns? Or let's remember that his first match was that tag team bout with The Miz going against the Mysterios. But while we're talking about that WrestleMania, let's not forget that after 19 years, Stone Cold Steve Austin made his return to the ring. And he took some serious bumps for a guy in his condition. Who saw that coming? Personally, this was the match that surprised me the most in 2022. Alright, so now it's on to the worst promo or segment of the year, and thankfully, in my opinion, it's nowhere near as bad as last year's. But even with that being so, we still had a couple of duds, such as what? Well, let's get into it. Yeah, the Uncle Howdy thing really is beginning to lose some people, myself included, which is so frustrating considering how great Bray Wyatt is on the mic naturally. But you know who's not good on the microphone? Well, Marina Shafir. You say I don't know you, but the reality is I do know that you're terrible on the microphone. But she's not the only former UFC fighter who's now a pro wrestler who could really use some help on the microphone, as there's also Ronda Rousey's many terrible promos. But if we're only gonna pick one, let's go with the one where Ronda and Shayna were talking smack to Shotzi, saying that she should sit at the kids' table. And spoiler warning, you're gonna be seeing plenty of her today, and not for good reasons. And now it's onto the best promo or segment of the year, and while I was just talking about Bray Wyatt and the whole Uncle Howdy thing, let's remember his comeback promo was amazing, as we got to listen to Bray come across more real than he ever has been. Oh, and what about that side-by-side interview with Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle, where Seth brought up Matt's divorce? Ooh, that was rough. And even though he may not be the most popular with Elite fans out there, let's remember when CM Punk cut that amazing promo of hurt people, hurt people. Was that foreshadowing for something? Now, as good as those were, none of them were the official nominees. What are? Well, let's present them now. Okay, so first off, I have to say that it was really hard to separate the CM Punk hurt people promo from the MJF ADHD promo. But nevertheless, they were on two separate shows, so I guess I have to, even though I view them as two sides of the same story. And continuing with my own personal opinion and keeping both of them distinct, I have to say for me, MJF's ADHD bullied promo is the best promo of the year. This is the one that I would vote for. But it's far from the only promo, as there was also Feelin' Oozy from Sami Zayn and the Bloodline, which is also the same segment that gave us the gem of Jey Uso saying that he didn't care what the Tribal Chief thought, causing Roman Reigns to snap his head back and give Jey the stink eye, which might be related to the stink face, but anyway, doesn't matter. Oh, and of course, how could we forget about Cody Rhodes and that amazing heartfelt promo he had when he returned to WWE? Especially because, as a result of this promo, a lot of people think it's going to be Cody that dethrones Roman. Alright, so now it's time to move on to some new categories, ones that are designed to highlight particular aspects of wrestling that may not be for everyone, but their fans really like a lot. Starting with the Spot Fest. This category is all about matches that may not feature the best technical wrestling or the best ring psychology, but it does feature a whole lot of high spots. Like this year's Survivor Series that featured not one but two War Games matches. Oh, and let's not forget about Brock and Roman. While it didn't feature a lot of high spots, it did feature one really big one, when Brock lifted up the entire ring. But again, as amazing as these stunts are, they are not the official nominees. But we will get into those now. Sami Zayn vs. Johnny Knoxville sure was sports entertaining. Some would say surprisingly so. So much that they might even consider it a surprise match of the year. But that reminds me, with this category, just like all of the categories, if there's something that you really want to see nominated but isn't, well, feel free to let me know down in the comments. Especially since last year's best match wasn't originally nominated, it was a write-in vote, and it wound up winning. Oh, but going back to this year in the Spotfest category, next let's move on to Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. As my goodness, that match was painful to watch. And Cody Rhodes, man, you're a trooper. But of course, we can't have a Spotfest category without at least mentioning AEW once. And with that being said, it's kind of hard to get spottier than Darby Allin and Jeff Hardy, who both put on a sight to see, and this was a dream match that really did live up to what fans expected. Alright, in a total about face from the last category, we have the best technical match of the year. And this one was really hard to narrow down, since work rate matches tend to fly under the radar and don't receive as much hype, meaning that a lot of people nominated a lot of different things, and it's really hard to narrow it down. But nevertheless, I still managed to do so, and let's just get into those matches now. Alright, as much as I wasn't in favor of FTR facing off against each other, not surprisingly, this was a great technical bout. And also, they did a little bit of storytelling, but that category is going to have to wait till later on. Also, we have Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes. Now, they had two really good technical matches this year, one at WrestleMania and one at Backlash. Which one's better? Well, that's really hard to say, but for me, I decided to put their WrestleMania bout on this list. But also, let's not forget that we have Bryan Danielson taking on Wheeler Yuta. How do you like that? 2 AEW matches in the technical category, and 2 WWE matches in the Spot Fest category. Just goes to show you, you never know what's going to be nominated. Alright, so here's that other category that I just alluded to. The best storytelling match of the year. Which bout told the most compelling tale? Well, we have 3 nominations, and here they are. Gunther vs. Sheamus, The Tale of Two Horses. Or how about War Games with the Sami Zayn turn on Kevin Owens? How good was that? And let's not forget about my own personal favorite, Seth Rollins vs. Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble, where Seth Rollins pretty much trolled Roman for the entire bout. Now that was a story. Alright, and so now it's on to the worst wrestler of the year, and in my opinion, this is an open and shut case. Anyway, here are the nominees. I said this last year, anytime Goldberg is a viable option, I don't care if he just had one match in the year, Goldberg is always a candidate for this category. And next we have Ridge Holland. Now look, I understand that accidents happen, but a lot of fans who nominate him still aren't over what happened with Big E. And of course we have Ronda Rousey. I mean, she's just the worst, right? I mean, what else do I gotta say? And now it's on to the best wrestler of the year, and there were so many to choose from. Like Cody Rhodes after making his big comeback, but he has been out for most of the year, so I didn't officially make him a nominee. And of course we have Gunther, or Walter, whichever you prefer to call him. I mean, that guy got Sheamus over. That ain't easy to do. And of course, let's not forget about Sami Zayn. That dude is super over. But again, none of these are the official nominations. So why don't we present those now? Love him or hate him, Roman Reigns is a guy that fans are going to nominate. It's just how wrestling works nowadays. However, that's the WWE champion. What about the AEW one with MJF? Even though he did take some time off after the whole Fire Me Tony, let's be real here. MJF has been the centerpiece of just about every great AEW story in the past year, and he absolutely deserves to be AEW champion right now. But also, even though he doesn't have gold at this exact moment, Seth Rollins for me has been the glue that held everything together in WWE, as he's delivered amazing feud after amazing feud between Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and Matt Riddle. The guy has delivered on every single front, and that's why he's my pick for Wrestler of the Year. And now we move on to the worst match of 2022. Again, this is another category that's a no-brainer, as there's one match and only one match for me that should win this award. But anyway, just for formality's sake, let's go over the nominees. Goldberg vs. Roman Reigns sucked, but at least it wasn't that long, so you didn't have to suffer much. And Ronda Rousey, she is the worst, and her match with Shotzi Blackheart at Survivor Series wasn't very good. But as much of a stinker as that was, the absolute worst wrestling match of the year, and one of the worst wrestling matches I have ever seen, goes to Ronda Rousey versus Liv Morgan. They no-sold baseball bats repeatedly, among many, many other problems. I don't want to think about this match anymore. And now it's on to the best match of the year. And again, fortunately, there were a lot of great candidates. such as War Games, as well as the previously mentioned Gunther vs. Sheamus. But with no further ado, let's get into the real nominations. FTR vs. the Briscoes, 2 out of 3 falls. This was just one in the very well received series between both teams, which was a total dream feud that lived up to what it was supposed to be. And also, let's remember the aforementioned Cody Rhodes vs. Seth Rollins in the Cell. Well, it might have lacked slightly in the technical, it more than made up for it in awe as well as storytelling. And of course, there's my own personal favorite match of the year, Seth Rollins vs. Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. It had great in-ring action and also had fantastic storytelling, with Seth Rollins milking the entire Shield relationship for all of its worth. And that finish was absolutely brilliant, as Roman Reigns just couldn't let go because he hates Seth Rollins that much. Pure genius, love the storytelling, love the match. That match is my match of the year. Well, there you go, the Dave Knows Wrestling 2022 award nominees. Now, make sure that you remember to vote and we'll find out who wins next week. And if there's something that you want to see nominated that wasn't, please let me know in the comments, and enough of you say the same things, maybe, just maybe, I'll add it to the list. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and thank you so much for voting. And as always, Dave Knows.